Strip, now, or I'll do it for you before I throw you off. Alicia Monroe stood on the edge of a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Big Sur, California, wearing only her silk nightgown, her bare feet on cold stone, her husband of 6 months pointing a gun at her with hands that had held her gently just hours ago. The moon was full, illuminating the 300-foot drop to the rocky shore below where waves crashed violently against jagged cliffs. The sound was deafening. No one would hear her scream. "Marcus, please," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I don't understand what's happening." Marcus Monroe, tall, handsome, charming Marcus, who had swept her off her feet at a charity gala a year ago, who had proposed with a ring that cost more than most people's cars, who had made love to her this very morning before suggesting this romantic weekend getaway, looked at her with eyes that held no love, only cold calculation. "What's happening, Alicia, is that tomorrow is your 30th birthday, and at midnight, you inherit $50 million from your father's trust fund, money that automatically transfers to your spouse if you die before claiming it." The words hit her like physical blows. You married me for my inheritance. I married you because you were stupid, naive, and desperately lonely after your father died. You made it so easy, Alicia, the grieving daughter looking for comfort. The wealthy woman who thought a handsome man could actually love her for who she is, not what she's worth. Alicia felt tears streaming down her face, but not from sadness, from rage. "I loved you. I gave you everything. My trust, my body, my heart. And tomorrow at midnight, you'll give me your fortune," Marcus interrupted. "Now strip. The nightgown has your initials embroidered on it. When they find your body, if they find it, I don't want anything that proves it's you. This needs to look like you wandered off during the night, maybe fell accidentally, maybe even jumped, but nothing that points to murder." "You'll never get away with this," Alicia said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I told my lawyer about this trip. I told my assistant. People know I'm here with you. Which is why I'm devastated when I wake up tomorrow morning to find you gone. Why I immediately call the police, search everywhere, cry on camera for the news crews. Everyone will see a loving husband destroyed by his wife's tragic accident. And while they're searching for your body in the ocean, I'll be comforting myself with the $50 million you left me." He cocked the gun. "Now strip, or I shoot you first and strip your corpse. Either way, you're going over that cliff naked." Alicia's mind raced. There was no way out. No way to run. He had the gun and was blocking the only path back. No way to fight. He was 6 inches taller and 70 pounds heavier. No way to negotiate. He had clearly planned this for months, maybe from the moment he met her. "Can I ask you one thing?" she said quietly, stalling, thinking, searching for anything that might save her life. "Make it quick." Was any of it real, even in the beginning? Marcus actually laughed. "God, you really are pathetic. No, Alicia, none of it was real. The first time I kissed you, I was thinking about your bank account. The first time we made love, I was calculating how long I'd have to wait before proposing. Our wedding vows, I was mentally spending your inheritance. You were never a wife. You were an investment. And tonight, that investment pays off." Something inside Alicia broke, not her spirit, but her last illusion about the man she'd married. She saw him clearly now, a predator who had stalked her, seduced her, and was now going to kill her for money. "All right," she said, her voice suddenly calm. "You win." She reached for the hem of her nightgown and pulled it over her head slowly, standing naked on the cliff's edge, the ocean wind making her shiver. She handed the nightgown to Marcus, who tucked it into his backpack. "Any last words?" he asked mockingly. Alicia looked at him, really looked at him, memorizing his face, his expression, the cold indifference in his eyes. If by some miracle she survived this, she would need to remember every detail. "Yes," she said. "I hope you choke on every dollar of my money. I hope it destroys you. And I hope that wherever I end up, I can watch you suffer." Marcus smiled, dramatic to the end. Goodbye, Alicia. He didn't push her gently. He shoved her with both hands, hard, sending her tumbling backward off the cliff. The last thing Alicia saw before she fell was Marcus's smile, satisfied, victorious, already counting his inheritance. Then she was falling, naked and screaming, plummeting toward the rocks and ocean 300 feet below. Welcome to Stories by Tino. Thank you for your incredible support. Before we dive into this intense story of survival and revenge, drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. This is going to be a journey you won't forget. Now, let's begin. The fall seemed to last forever and no time at all. Alicia's mind processed everything with bizarre clarity. The wind rushing past her naked body, the stars above her spinning, the sound of the ocean getting louder, the certainty that she was about to die. But in those final seconds, something ancient and primal kicked in, her father's voice in her head from childhood camping trips. If you ever fall into water from a height, protect your head and neck. Enter feet first if you can. Survive the impact, then swim. Alicia twisted in midair, fighting instinct that wanted to flail, forcing her body into a vertical position. She crossed her arms over her chest, tucked her chin, pointed her toes down. She hit the water between two massive rocks at an angle that should have killed her instantly. The impact was like hitting concrete. Pain exploded through her legs, her spine, her ribs. The ocean swallowed her, pulling her down into cold, dark water that filled her mouth, her nose, her lungs. She was drowning, she was dying. But she wasn't dead yet. Alicia kicked, her legs screaming in agony, probably broken, and fought toward the surface. Her lungs burned, her vision blurred, but she kicked again and again. She broke the surface, gasping, choking, immediately hit by another wave that pushed her toward the rocks. She was going to be smashed against them, torn apart. This was how she died, not from the fall, but from the ocean finishing what Marcus started. But then the current shifted, pulling her away from the rocks, dragging her parallel to the shore. She was too weak to fight it, too injured to swim. She could only float, barely keeping her head above water, letting the ocean carry her wherever it wanted. She thought about Marcus, probably already driving back to their luxury hotel, rehearsing his devastated husband performance. By morning, he would report her missing. By afternoon, search and rescue would be looking for a body. By tomorrow night, he would be comforting himself with her inheritance. "I hope you choke on every dollar." The words she had thrown at him were all she had left. A curse, a promise, a vow that somehow, impossibly, she would make him pay. The ocean carried her for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. The current eventually deposited her in a small cove, washing her onto a beach of coarse sand and rocks. Alicia dragged herself out of the water, naked, bleeding, broken, and collapsed on the shore. She had survived the fall, survived the ocean, survived her husband's murder attempt. But she was miles from help, severely injured and hypothermic. She would probably die here on this beach before morning anyway. Unless... She forced her eyes open and looked around. The beach was small, maybe 50 feet across, enclosed by cliffs on both sides. But there was a cave, a dark opening in the cliff face about 30 feet away. Shelter, warmth, a chance. Alicia began to crawl. She didn't remember reaching the cave. She didn't remember the hours of semi-consciousness, drifting in and out of awareness, her body shaking from cold and shock. What she remembered was light, morning sun, and a voice. "Jesus Christ, are you alive?" Alicia opened her eyes, or tried to. One was swollen shut. Through the other, she saw a face, elderly, weathered, concerned. A black man in his 70s, wearing fishing gear, staring at her with shock and compassion. "Please," Alicia whispered, her voice barely audible. "Help me." The old man immediately took off his jacket and covered her naked body. "I'm going to get you to a hospital. Don't move. Don't try to talk. You're going to be okay." "No hospital," Alicia managed to say, grabbing his arm with what little strength she had. "He'll find me, he'll..." "Finish it." "Who will find you? Who did this?" "My husband. He pushed me off the cliff, tried to kill me for my money." The words came out in painful gasps. "If he knows I survived." "He'll try again. Please, no hospital, no police, not yet." The old man studied her face, and something in her eyes must have convinced him she was telling the truth. All right, I live nearby, small place off the grid. I can help you there, but you're badly hurt. You might not make it. Better to die free than die at his hands, Alicia said. Fair enough, my name's Moses Washington, and you are? Dead, Alicia whispered. As far as the world knows, I'm dead, and I need to stay that way. Moses carefully lifted her. She was small, maybe 110 pounds, and he was stronger than he looked. He carried her to his truck, an old pickup hidden in the brush near the beach, and drove her to his home. A small cabin tucked into the hills, completely isolated, no neighbors for miles. For the next 3 days, Alicia drifted in and out of consciousness while Moses did what he could, setting broken bones, cleaning wounds, keeping her hydrated. He didn't ask questions, didn't push for details, just kept her alive. On the 4th day, she woke up fully conscious for the first time. How bad? She asked Moses, who was sitting in a chair beside her bed, reading a book. 2 broken ribs, fractured left leg, concussion, severe bruising, lacerations everywhere. You should be dead, but you're not, you're tough. I'll give you that. How long was I out? 3 days, long enough for your husband to report you missing, long enough for search and rescue to find your nightgown on the cliff, long enough for them to declare you presumed dead, body lost to the ocean. He pulled out a newspaper and showed her the headline. Wealthy heiress ALICIA, Monroe PRESUMED dead, after tragic fall in big SUR. DEVASDATD husband offers $100,000 reward for information. Below was a photo of Marcus, looking appropriately grief-stricken for the cameras. Alicia stared at the photo, at the performance, at the lie, and she felt something cold and hard settle in her chest where her heart used to be. He thinks he won, she said quietly. Did he? Moses asked. Alicia looked at the old man who had saved her life. No, he just made the biggest mistake of his life. He let me survive, and now I'm going to destroy him. How? You're legally dead. You have no money, no identity, no resources. He has everything, your fortune, your reputation, your life. Not for long, Alicia said, and despite the pain, despite the broken bones and the trauma, she smiled. I have something he doesn't have. What's that? Time, patience, and nothing left to lose. He wanted me dead? Fine, I'm dead. But dead women have power living women don't. Dead women can't be threatened, can't be manipulated, can't be controlled, and dead women can haunt the living until they break. Moses studied her face for a long moment. You're going to need help, resources, a plan. I have a plan, and I know exactly where to start. She thought about her father, the brilliant financier who had built a fortune from nothing, who had taught her everything about money, power, and strategy before he died 3 years ago. Before he died, he had told her something she had never fully understood. Alicia, if you ever need to disappear, if you ever need to start over, there's money. Hidden money. Accounts in different names. Insurance in case everything goes wrong. The information is in the safe deposit box at First National Bank, box 447. Only you have the key. Use it only if you must. She had the key. It was on a necklace she always wore, hidden under her nightgown. The nightgown Marcus had stripped off her before pushing her off the cliff. Moses, Alicia said, I need you to do something for me, and I need you to trust me. I'm listening. Drive to San Francisco, First National Bank on Market Street, safe deposit box 447. Give them this. She pulled the necklace over her head, wincing at the pain, and handed him the key, and they'll give you access. Inside is information about accounts, identities, resources my father set up years ago. Bring everything back here. Your father planned for this, Moses asked, surprised. My father understood that wealth makes you a target. He prepared for every contingency, including his daughter needing to disappear. Moses nodded slowly. All right, I'll go tomorrow, but Alicia, what happens after you get your resources? What's your endgame? Alicia's eyes were cold and clear. I let Marcus enjoy his stolen fortune for exactly 1 year. Let him spend it, flaunt it, build his life on my death. And then I come back. Not as Alicia Monroe, the naive woman he murdered, but as his worst nightmare. I take back everything he stole, plus everything he has. And I make sure he spends the rest of his life in prison, broke, alone, and haunted by the ghost of the wife he thought he killed. Revenge, Moses said. Justice, Alicia corrected. Revenge is emotional, justice is systematic. Moses stood up, looking at this broken woman who somehow radiated terrifying determination. Your father raised a warrior. No, Alicia said quietly. Marcus created one, he just doesn't know it yet. Alicia survived the impossible. Now she's planning her revenge from beyond the grave. But what resources did her father leave her? And how will she transform from victim to nightmare? Moses Washington returned from San Francisco 3 days later, carrying a briefcase that looked like it had survived decades. Inside Alicia's father's safe deposit box, he had found something that made even his weathered face show surprise. Your father, Moses said, setting the briefcase on the bed where Alicia was propped up against pillows, her broken leg in a makeshift cast, was either the most paranoid man alive or the smartest. He opened the briefcase. Inside were multiple passports with Alicia's photo under different names, credit cards linked to offshore accounts, deeds to properties she'd never heard of, and a thick leather journal filled with her father's handwriting. How much? Alicia asked, picking up one of the bank statements. $12 million, spread across 6 accounts in 3 countries. All in shell company names that trace back to trusts that can't be connected to you or your father without forensic accounting that would take years. Alicia felt tears spring to her eyes, not from grief, but from gratitude. Her father had loved her enough to prepare for the worst. He had given her a way to survive, even from beyond the grave. She opened the journal to the first page. Her father's familiar handwriting stared back at her. Alicia, if you're reading this, something has gone terribly wrong. The resources in this box are your insurance policy. Use them wisely. Trust no one except Moses Washington. He was my friend for 40 years, and he'll help you when no one else will. Remember what I taught you. Money is power only if you know how to use it. Don't seek revenge, seek justice. And never let anyone make you feel powerless again. I love you always. Dad. He knew about you, Alicia said to Moses. He left me instructions to find you. Your father and I served in Vietnam together, Moses explained. After the war, he became a financial genius. I became a fisherman, but we stayed friends. When he got sick 3 years ago, he made me promise that if you ever needed help and came to this coast, I'd be here. I thought he was being paranoid. Turns out he was being prescient. Alicia spent the next 2 weeks healing physically while planning mentally. The broken bones would take months to fully heal, but she could function. And function was all she needed. Using one of her new identities, Elena Rodriguez, a consultant from Miami, she began rebuilding. Moses drove her to a private doctor who didn't ask questions, got her proper medical care, and started physical therapy. The doctor said she would walk with a slight limp for the rest of her life, a permanent reminder of the night Marcus pushed her off a cliff. Good, Alicia thought. She wanted to remember, wanted to carry that rage with her every day. While recovering, she researched Marcus obsessively from Moses's laptop, and what she discovered made her blood boil. Within a week of her death, Marcus had claimed her inheritance, $50 million transferred directly to him as her surviving spouse. Within 2 weeks, he had moved out of their home and into a penthouse in San Francisco. Within a month, he was seen at exclusive clubs with beautiful women, spending money like it meant nothing. And then she found the most infuriating detail. He had started a foundation in her name. The Alicia Monroe Memorial Foundation for Women's Safety, dedicated to helping vulnerable women who had lost their way. He was using her death to build a reputation as a caring, philanthropic widower, while spending her money on luxury and debauchery. He's playing the long game, Moses observed, reading over her shoulder. Building public sympathy, establishing himself as a bereaved but generous man. When he eventually remarries, no one will question it. They'll think he's finally moving on from his tragic loss. He's not moving on, Alicia said coldly. He's rebranding, turning my murder into his origin story as a humanitarian. It's sick. So what's your move? Alicia pulled up a legal document on the screen, her father's will and the trust fund documentation. She had studied it obsessively, looking for any loophole, any weakness in Marcus's claim to her money. And she had found one. The trust fund had a clause, Alicia explained. If I died before turning 30, the money goes to my spouse, but only if I died of natural causes or an accident. If I was murdered, the money reverts to a charitable foundation my father established, and my spouse gets nothing. So all you have to do is prove Marcus murdered you, Moses said, which is going to be difficult since you're legally dead and can't testify. I don't need to testify. I need to gather evidence, prove premeditation, show that he planned my murder, and then I reveal myself alive with proof that he tried to kill me for money. That voids his claim to the inheritance, I get my money back, and he goes to prison for attempted murder. How do you gather evidence when you're supposed to be dead? Alicia smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. I become someone else, someone close enough to Marcus to access his life, his secrets, his mistakes. And I do what he did to me. I infiltrate, I seduce, and I destroy. 6 months after her death, a woman named Elena Rodriguez arrived in San Francisco as a wealth management consultant specializing in newly wealthy clients. She was striking, not beautiful in the way Alicia had been, but different. Her hair was darker, cut in a sleek bob. Subtle plastic surgery had altered the shape of her nose, her cheekbones, the line of her jaw. She wore designer glasses, spoke with a faint international accent, and carried herself with the cool confidence of someone who had seen the world. Marcus Monroe would never recognize her as his dead wife. Elena established herself quickly in San Francisco's wealthy social circles, making strategic connections through the $12 million her father had left her. She attended charity galas, invested in the right businesses, and made sure her name appeared in society pages. And then, at a fundraiser for the Alicia Monroe Memorial Foundation, the bitter irony wasn't lost on her. Elena engineered her first meeting with Marcus. He was holding court with a group of admirers, playing the role of bereaved philanthropist perfectly. He wore an expensive suit, a wedding ring he hadn't bothered to remove, and an expression of practiced sadness when anyone mentioned his late wife. Elena approached with champagne in hand, her research complete. She knew everything about him now, his habits, his preferences, his weaknesses. She knew he liked sophisticated women who challenged him intellectually. She knew he was attracted to wealth and power. She knew he was a narcissist who believed himself untouchable. "Mr. Monroe," she said, her accent just thick enough to be exotic, but not enough to hinder understanding. "I'm Elena Rodriguez. I wanted to tell you how moved I am by the foundation you've created in your wife's memory." Marcus turned, and his eyes did exactly what Elena expected. They assessed her wealth, designer dress, expensive jewelry, confident bearing, before they assessed her attractiveness, striking, sophisticated, intriguing. "Thank you," he said, extending his hand. "It's the least I could do to honor Alicia's legacy. She was passionate about helping women in vulnerable situations." Liar, Elena thought, but her smile never wavered. "Your wife was lucky to have a husband who understood her so well." "I was the lucky one," Marcus said, and Elena had to suppress the urge to throw her champagne in his face. "May I ask what brings you to San Francisco? Your accent suggests you're not from here." "Miami originally, but I've lived all over London, Dubai, Hong Kong. I'm a wealth management consultant, specializing in helping clients who have come into sudden fortunes. I recently relocated to San Francisco to expand my practice." She saw the interest sharpen in Marcus's eyes. Sudden fortunes, wealth management, a woman who understood money and could potentially help him manage his stolen $50 million. "That's fascinating," Marcus said. "I'd love to hear more about your work. Would you join me for dinner later this week?" "I'd be delighted," Elena said, and handed him her business card, embossed, expensive, listing an office address in the financial district that she'd rented specifically for this purpose. As Marcus walked away to greet other guests, Moses, attending the gala as Elena's +1, disguised in an expensive suit that made him look like a retired executive, leaned close and whispered, "You sure about this?" getting close to him. "I'm sure," Alina replied, watching Marcus work the room. "He took everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from him, starting with his trust." Their first dinner was at an exclusive restaurant overlooking the bay. Marcus was charming, attentive, playing the role of lonely widower who was finally ready to consider moving forward with his life. "I don't talk about Alicia much," he said over wine, his performance so convincing Alina almost believed him. "It's still too painful, but something about you makes me feel like I can be honest." "Grief is complicated," Alina said carefully, playing her own role. "There's no right way to process it, and there's no timeline for when you're allowed to feel normal again." "Exactly," Marcus said, seeming genuinely relieved. "People expect me to mourn forever, but Alicia would have wanted me to live, to be happy. She was generous that way." Alina wanted to scream. Alicia hadn't been generous. She'd been naive, trusting, and in love with a man who'd seen her as a bank account with a heartbeat. But instead, she smiled. "Tell me about her. What was she like?" Marcus launched into a description that was mostly fiction, painting Alicia as sweet but unsophisticated, loving but clingy, generous but financially irresponsible. He was rewriting history, turning his victim into someone who needed him, who would have been lost without him. "She wasn't great with money," Marcus said, shaking his head fondly. "I tried to teach her about investments, about financial planning, but she preferred to just spend and hope everything worked out. The foundation I created in her name is partly about teaching women financial literacy, something Alicia never had." It took everything Alina had not to throw wine in his face. Alicia had a degree in economics from Stanford. She had managed her own portfolio before meeting Marcus. She had been brilliant with money, which is probably why Marcus had felt threatened enough to kill her rather than risk a divorce where she might have protected her assets. "That's very noble of you," Alina said instead, "turning tragedy into education." "I try," Marcus said modestly. Then he leaned forward, his expression shifting from bereaved to interested. "But enough about the past. Tell me about you, Alina. A beautiful, successful woman traveling the world alone. I find that intriguing." And so Alina told him carefully constructed lies mixed with truths. About growing up wealthy in Miami, truth. She'd grown up wealthy in Los Angeles. About her father dying and leaving her money, truth. About building a career helping others manage wealth, lie. She'd been a philanthropist before Marcus murdered her. By the end of dinner, Marcus was clearly attracted. Alina could see it in how he leaned closer, how his eyes lingered, how he found excuses to touch her hand across the table. Good, attraction was the first step. Trust would come next. And then, when he was comfortable, when he thought he had her fooled like he'd fooled Alicia, she would spring the trap. Over the next 3 months, Alina and Marcus became close. She played the role perfectly, sophisticated, independent, but just vulnerable enough to make him feel needed. She had dinner with him twice a week, attended galas and events as his date, met his friends and charmed them all. And slowly, carefully, she gathered evidence. She recorded conversations where Marcus talked about Alicia with subtle disdain, revealing details only her murderer would know. She accessed his computer when he left her alone in his penthouse, copying files that showed suspicious financial activity right before Alicia's death. Large cash withdrawals, purchases of camping gear he'd claimed to already own, searches for Big Sur cliff heights, and ocean current patterns. She befriended his housekeeper, who mentioned that Mr. Monroe had returned from his trip with Alicia alone, his clothes muddy and torn, looking haunted until he showered and changed. She met with lawyers discreetly, building a case that Marcus had planned Alicia's murder, that the death wasn't an accident, but a premeditated killing for financial gain. And then, one evening at his penthouse, Marcus made his biggest mistake. He got drunk and nostalgic, and he started talking about Alicia with something close to honesty. "You know what I regret most?" he said, his words slightly slurred. "That she never knew. She died thinking I loved her. She never got to see that she was just." He paused, searching for the word. "A transaction. Is that terrible? Alina's blood ran cold, but she kept her expression neutral. That depends. Did you care for her at all? Care for her? Marcus laughed bitterly. Alina, I studied her for 6 months before I even approached her. I researched her family, her finances, her weaknesses. I knew exactly what to say, how to act, when to propose. She was so desperate for love after her father died that she made it easy. The whole marriage was theater, and the performance ended when I got what I wanted. Which was? Everything, Marcus said simply. Her money, her assets, her life, all of it transferred to me the moment she went over that cliff. There it was, the confession. And Alina's phone, positioned casually on the coffee table between them, was recording every word. You pushed her, Alina said quietly, no longer pretending. You murdered your wife for her inheritance. Marcus looked at her, suddenly wary, the alcohol fog clearing slightly. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Alicia Monroe, your wife. The woman you stripped naked and threw off a cliff in Big Sur because you wanted her $50 million inheritance. Marcus stood up, his expression shifting from confusion to anger. Who the hell are you? Alina stood as well, meeting his eyes without fear. I'm Alina Rodriguez, wealth management consultant, and I've spent 3 months documenting every detail of your crime. I have recordings, financial records, witness statements, and enough evidence to send you to prison for the rest of your life. You're insane, Marcus said, but there was panic in his voice now. Even if I did what you're claiming, which I didn't, Alicia is dead. There's no victim to prosecute for. No body was ever found. You're right, Alina said, and smiled. No body was ever found, which makes it very difficult to prove someone is dead, doesn't it? She reached up and removed her glasses. Then she pulled off the dark wig she'd been wearing, revealing hair that was starting to grow back to its natural honey blonde color. The colored contacts came out next, showing eyes that Marcus had looked into 1,000 times during their marriage. Hello, Marcus, Alicia Monroe said. Did you miss me? Marcus's face went white. He stumbled backward, hitting the wall, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. No, you're dead. I watched you fall. You're dead. I survived, Alicia said calmly. I hit the water instead of the rocks. I washed up on a beach. A kind man saved my life. And I spent the last 9 months healing, planning, and building a case against you that even your expensive lawyers won't be able to beat. This is impossible. What's impossible is that you thought you could murder me and get away with it. What's impossible is that you spent my money for 9 months while I was alive. What's impossible is that you're about to lose everything. The inheritance, your freedom, your reputation, your life. I told you the night you pushed me. I hoped you choked on every dollar of my money. And now, Marcus, you're going to. Alicia pulled out her phone and dialed. Detective Morrison, this is Alicia Monroe. Yes, that Alicia Monroe. I'm currently at 1200 California Street, Penthouse B. I'm standing in front of my husband, Marcus Monroe, who attempted to murder me 9 months ago for my inheritance. I have a recorded confession and substantial evidence. I'd like to file charges for attempted murder, fraud, and theft. How soon can you get here? Marcus lunged at her, but Alicia was ready. She sidestepped, and Moses, who had been waiting outside the penthouse door, entered immediately, followed by 2 private security guards Alicia had hired. Don't make this worse, Moses warned Marcus. The police are on their way. You move again and we add assault to the charges. Marcus collapsed onto his sofa, his head in his hands, his world crashing down around him. Alicia looked at the man who had tried to kill her and felt nothing. Not love, not hate, just cold satisfaction. You were right about one thing, Marcus, she said. I was a transaction, but so were you, and now the bill is due. The arrest of Marcus Monroe made national headlines within hours. PRSUMED, dead heiress RETURNS, to accuse husband of attempted murder. Wife rises from the grave too, expose fortune hunter's deadly scheme. $1 million inheritance fraud. How one woman survived and came back for revenge. By morning, Marcus was in custody at San Francisco County Jail, denied bail due to flight risk and the severity of the charges. His penthouse was sealed as a crime scene. His bank accounts were frozen pending investigation into the fraudulent inheritance claim, and his carefully constructed image as a bereaved philanthropist was shattered beyond repair. Alicia sat in the office of Catherine Chen, one of San Francisco's most aggressive prosecutors, reviewing the evidence they had compiled over 9 months. "The recorded confession is damning," Catherine said, playing back Marcus's drunken admission for the 3rd time. "Combined with the financial evidence showing premeditation, the suspicious internet searches, the housekeeper's testimony, and most importantly, your testimony as the surviving victim, we have an airtight case." "What's he charged with?" Alicia asked. "Attempted murder in the 1st degree, fraud, grand theft, and perjury. He signed legal documents claiming you died accidentally to access your inheritance. That's fraud on top of attempted murder. We're looking at life in prison without parole if convicted on all counts." "When's the trial?" "His lawyer is going to push for delays, try to suppress evidence, maybe even claim you fabricated your own attempted murder for attention. But given the physical evidence, your medical records showing injuries consistent with a fall from a great height, the timeline matching his trip to Big Sur, his financial motive, I'd estimate we'll go to trial in 6 months." Alicia nodded. "And in the meantime?" "In the meantime, you take back your life. The inheritance is being reviewed by probate court. Since you're alive and can prove the death was attempted murder, Marcus's claim is void. You'll get your $50 million back, plus damages for the 9 months he spent it." "How much did he spend?" Catherine pulled up a financial report. $12 million. Penthouse, cars, jewelry, parties, and, this is the kicker, $5 million donated to the Alicia Monroe Memorial Foundation. "He donated my money to a fake charity in my name while I was in hiding." Alicia felt rage burn through her. "I want that money back, all of it." "The foundation is being investigated for fraud. If it's found to be a shell organization designed to launder money and build his reputation, we can recover the funds. But Alicia, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to be a media circus. Every detail of your marriage, the murder attempt, your survival, your disguise as Alina Rodriguez, it's all going to be public." "Good," Alicia said. "I want it public. I want everyone to know what Marcus did. I want every woman who's ever been manipulated by a fortune hunter to see what happens when you fight back." 2 weeks later, Alicia sat across from a journalist at the San Francisco Chronicle for her first public interview since returning from the dead. The journalist, Rebecca Santos, was a veteran reporter known for her empathetic but thorough interviewing style. She had covered domestic violence cases for 20 years and approached Alicia's story with both skepticism and compassion. "Let's start with the hardest question," Rebecca said after pleasantries were exchanged. "Why didn't you come forward immediately after surviving the fall? Why hide for 9 months?" "Because I was terrified," Alicia answered honestly. "I had just survived my husband pushing me off a cliff. I was naked, injured, hypothermic, and convinced he would finish the job if he knew I was alive. Moses Washington saved my life, but I was barely clinging to it for weeks. By the time I was physically recovered enough to act, Marcus had already claimed my inheritance and established himself as the grieving widower. I realized that revealing myself immediately would give him time to create alternative explanations, hire lawyers, and potentially threaten me again. So you decided to gather evidence first." "I decided to become someone else. Alina Rodriguez wasn't just a disguise, she was protection. As Alina, I could get close to Marcus without fear. I could document his behavior, record his admissions, and build a case that even his expensive defense team couldn't deny. I had to be strategic because I was fighting someone who had already proven he was willing to kill for money." "You seduced your own husband as another woman. Some people are calling that entrapment." "Some people are wrong," Alicia said firmly. "Entrapment is when law enforcement induces someone to commit a crime they wouldn't otherwise commit. I didn't induce Marcus to attempt murder. He'd already done that. I simply gave him the opportunity to confess to a crime he'd already committed. And he did, voluntarily, while drunk and boasting." "What was it like, sitting across from the man who tried to kill you, pretending to be attracted to him. Alicia was quiet for a moment, remembering those dinners, those conversations, the way Marcus had touched her hand the same way he had during their marriage. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Every time he smiled at me, I remembered his smile the night he pushed me. Every time he spoke about Alicia, about me, with false grief, I wanted to scream. But I reminded myself that each dinner, each conversation, each recorded interaction was another piece of evidence. I was building a cage around him, one bar at a time. Do you regret marrying him? I regret trusting him. I regret ignoring red flags that probably existed, but I was too in love to see. But I don't regret the experience because it taught me something crucial. Wealth makes you a target. My father tried to teach me that, but I didn't truly understand until Marcus tried to murder me for money. Now I understand, and I'll never be that naive again. Rebecca leaned forward. What do you want people to know about your story? I want women to know that fortune hunters exist, that people will manipulate and seduce you for money, and that you need to protect yourself legally before you marry anyone. Get a prenup. Keep separate accounts. Don't assume love equals honesty. And if you're being abused, financially, emotionally, or physically, document everything. Evidence is power. And what do you want Marcus to know? Alicia looked directly into the camera that was recording the interview. I want him to know that he failed. He tried to kill me and take everything I had. Instead, he created someone stronger, smarter, and angrier than he could imagine. He spent 9 months enjoying stolen money. Now he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison remembering the night he pushed me off that cliff and thinking I was dead. I hope every night in his cell, he replays that moment and realizes it was the biggest mistake of his life. The interview went viral within hours. Social media exploded with support for Alicia and rage toward Marcus. Women shared their own stories of financial abuse and fortune hunters. True crime podcasts dedicated episodes to analyzing the case. Late-night shows made jokes about Marcus being haunted by his dead wife. But not everyone was supportive. Marcus's defense attorney, a shark named Gerald Davidson who specialized in representing wealthy criminals, held his own press conference. My client maintains his innocence, Davidson declared to a room full of reporters. Alicia Monroe's story is compelling, but it raises serious questions. She supposedly survived a 300-foot fall into the ocean, washed ashore, and was rescued by a convenient stranger who just happened to be there. She then spent 9 months hiding while her husband grieved publicly, building a case against him. This sounds less like attempted murder and more like a calculated scheme by a woman who regretted her marriage and wanted revenge. Are you suggesting Mrs. Monroe faked her own attempted murder? A reporter asked. I'm suggesting the evidence is suspicious. There are no witnesses to the alleged push, no physical evidence on the cliff. And conveniently, Mrs. Monroe returns just as my client is about to move on with his life, armed with recordings she obtained through deception and entrapment. This case is about a bitter woman seeking revenge, not justice. The defense strategy was clear. Paint Alicia as a manipulative liar, claim the fall was an accident Alicia exaggerated, and argue that the confession was obtained illegally. Catherine Chen called Alicia immediately after Davidson's press conference. They're going to attack your credibility. Are you prepared for that? Let them try, Alicia said. I have medical records showing injuries consistent with attempted murder. I have Marcus's internet search history showing him researching cliff heights and ocean currents the week before our trip. I have financial records showing suspicious withdrawals. And I have his confession on tape. They can call me bitter all they want. The evidence speaks for itself. There's something else you should know, Catherine said carefully. We found a witness. A couple was hiking near the cliff the night you fell. They heard a woman screaming, saw someone fall, and saw a man standing at the cliff's edge afterward. They reported it to park rangers the next morning, but by then Marcus had already reported you missing. The rangers assumed it was the same incident. The couple didn't realize the significance until they saw the news coverage of your return. Alicia felt something break inside her. Relief, vindication, rage. They saw him push me. They saw someone push someone and heard screams. It was dark. They were far away. They can't identify faces. But their testimony places a man at that cliff at the time you fell, which corroborates your account and contradicts Marcus's claim that he was asleep in the hotel when you supposedly wandered off. When can they testify? At trial, and Alicia, with their testimony added to everything else, we're not just going to convict Marcus, we're going to bury him. 3 months later, Alicia sat in a courtroom as the People v. Marcus Monroe began. The jury, 7 women and 5 men, carefully selected to represent a cross-section of San Francisco, listened as Catherine Chen delivered her opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about greed, manipulation, and attempted murder. The defendant, Marcus Monroe, married Alicia Monroe not out of love but out of calculation. He researched her family's wealth, learned about her inheritance, and seduced her specifically to gain access to $50 million. When the deadline for claiming that inheritance approached, he took her to a remote cliff, stripped her naked to prevent identification, and pushed her 300 feet into the ocean, fully intending to kill her. He then spent 9 months living on her money, pretending to grieve, building a fake charity in her name, and enjoying the life he had stolen. But Alicia Monroe survived, and she came back to hold him accountable. This trial is about justice for a woman who refused to stay dead. Gerald Davidson's opening was equally powerful, but took a different angle. Ladies and gentlemen, my client is not a murderer. He's a man whose wife had a tragic accident, who grieved genuinely, and who is now being punished for moving on with his life. Yes, Marcus inherited money when his wife died. That's what spouses do, it's the law. Yes, he spent that money. He was a widower trying to honor his wife's memory through charity. And yes, he later confessed to things while drunk in front of a woman who was secretly recording him. But we'll show that woman manipulated, seduced, and entrapped him to create false evidence for a revenge plot. This case is about a bitter woman who wants money and attention, not justice. For 2 weeks, the prosecution presented evidence. Medical experts testified about Alicia's injuries being consistent with a fall from great height. Financial experts showed suspicious transactions before the trip. Digital forensics specialists revealed Marcus's incriminating search history. The hikers testified to hearing screams and seeing a man at the cliff. And then Alicia took the stand. She spent an entire day testifying, describing how Marcus had manipulated her, how he had planned the trip, how he had stripped her naked, and how he had pushed her without hesitation. She described hitting the water, nearly drowning, crawling to shore. She described Moses finding her recovery, her transformation into Alina Rodriguez, and finally the recorded confession. Gerald Davidson's cross-examination was brutal. Mrs. Monroe, isn't it convenient that the only person who witnessed your alleged attempted murder is you? There were also hikers who heard me screaming and saw someone at the cliff. Hikers who were far away in the dark, who can't identify anyone, hardly compelling. The evidence identifies Marcus, his searches, his timeline, his financial motive, his confession. A confession you obtained through deception. You lied to him about your identity, seduced him under false pretenses, and recorded him without his knowledge while he was intoxicated. Does that sound like ethical behavior to you? Does attempting to murder your wife for her inheritance sound ethical to you? Alicia shot back. I'm asking the questions, Mrs. Monroe. You spent 9 months hiding, building a case, planning your revelation. Doesn't that sound less like a terrified victim and more like someone orchestrating revenge? I spent 9 months gathering evidence because I knew Marcus had money, power, and the advantage of everyone believing I was dead. I had to be strategic, or he would have gotten away with attempted murder. Or you could have simply gone to the police immediately and let them handle it. I could have, but I didn't trust that Marcus wouldn't manipulate the system the way he manipulated me. I needed ironclad proof, and I got it. Davidson tried for hours to break her, to make her seem vindictive or unhinged. But Alicia remained calm, consistent, and compelling. When she finally stepped down from the witness stand, Catherine whispered, "You just won this case." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood and read the verdict. On the charge of attempted murder in the 1st degree, we find the defendant guilty. Alicia felt tears stream down her face, not from sadness, but from relief. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Marcus sat stone-faced, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. On the charge of grand theft, we find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupted in whispers. On the charge of perjury, we find the defendant guilty. Judge Patricia Harrison banged her gavel. Order! Mr. Monroe, you have been found guilty on all counts. Sentencing will be held in 2 weeks. Until then, you will remain in custody. This court is adjourned. As bailiffs led Marcus away in handcuffs, he looked back at Alicia one final time. His expression was no longer confident or manipulative. It was defeated, broken, terrified. Good, Alicia thought. Now he knows what it feels like to lose everything. Marcus is convicted, but the story isn't over. Sentencing, reclaiming her fortune, and deciding what to do with her second chance at life awaits. What will Alicia do now that justice is served? Drop a comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. This story is reaching its powerful conclusion. The days following the court hearing blurred together in a haze of sleepless nights and endless planning. Funk sat in her living room, surrounded by documents, bank statements, and her laptop open to multiple tabs, each one revealing another piece of Femi's carefully constructed lie. Yetund had been relentless. Every morning, she arrived with fresh coffee and new information. Your husband wasn't just hiding money, she'd said 3 days ago, dropping another folder on the table. He was building an entire second life. Now, as Funk scrolled through the latest batch of evidence, her hands trembled not with fear, but with cold, calculated rage. The property deed Yetund had uncovered showed Femi had purchased a luxury apartment in Lekki, a 3-bedroom penthouse overlooking the Lagos shoreline, 18 months ago. The same month he'd told Funk they couldn't afford to renovate their daughter's bedroom. Mama, are you still working? Amatola's voice drifted from the hallway. Funk quickly closed her laptop. Just finishing up, my love. Go back to bed. She waited until she heard her daughter's door click shut before reopening the screen. The bank statements painted an even uglier picture. Regular transfers of 500,000 naira monthly to an account under Ngozi's name. Shopping receipts from high-end boutiques in Victoria Island. Hotel bookings in Abuja, Port Harcourt, even Dubai. All while Funk had been clipping coupons and shopping at Balagun Market to stretch their household budget. Her phone buzzed. Yetund's name flashed on the screen. I found something else, Yetund said without preamble. You need to see this in person. Can you meet me at my office tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock? What is it? Not over the phone. Trust me, Funk, this changes everything. Yetund's law office occupied the 3rd floor of a sleek glass building in Victoria Island. Funk had been here before, but today the gleaming marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows felt different, like she was stepping into a war room rather than a lawyer's office. Sit down, Yetund said, gesturing to the leather chair across from her desk. Her expression was grave, almost sympathetic, which immediately put Funk on edge. What did you find? Yetund slid a manila envelope across the desk. Before you open this, I need you to prepare yourself. What's inside is going to hurt, but it's also going to be your strongest weapon in court. Funk's fingers fumbled with the envelope's clasp. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. The first few showed Femi and Ngozi at various restaurants, holding hands, laughing. Nothing Funk hadn't already imagined. Then she reached the ones that made her stomach drop. Femi and Ngozi at a hospital. Ngozi in a hospital gown, her belly swollen with pregnancy. Femi's hand resting protectively on her stomach. The date stamp read 8 months ago. No, Funk whispered. No, no, no. Keep looking, Yetund said gently. The next photo showed Femi cradling a newborn. His face was lit up with joy, the same expression he'd worn when Amatola was born. The same expression Funk thought had been reserved for their family alone. He has a son, Yetund confirmed. 3 months old, his name is Ifani. Funk's vision blurred. She gripped the edge of the desk, trying to steady herself. 3 months. He's had a baby for 3 months and never said a word. There's more. Yetund pulled out another document. Ngozi filed for child support 2 weeks ago. She's claiming Femi promised to leave you and marry her, but now he's backing out. She wants 300,000 naira monthly, plus medical expenses, education fund, and a trust for the child. She's suing him. Despite everything, a bitter laugh escaped Funk's throat. The mistress is suing my husband for child support while he's trying to take my children away from me. Exactly, and here's where it gets interesting. Yetund leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with strategic intensity. Ngozi's lawsuit proves several things. One, that Femi has been lying to the court about his financial situation. He claimed he couldn't afford increased support for Amatola and Tund, but he's been supporting an entire second family. 2, it proves he's been committing adultery throughout your marriage, which affects the custody case. And 3, and this is the beautiful part, Ngozi is furious with him. Why does that matter? Because fury makes people talk, and I think we can convince Ngozi to talk to us. Funk stared at her lawyer. You want me to meet with my husband's mistress? I want you to meet with a woman who's been lied to just like you have. A woman who thought she was building a future with Femi, only to discover he was using her. A woman who probably knows where every naira of his hidden money is buried. Yetund's smile was sharp. Think about it, Funk. Ngozi knows things about Femi that you don't. She's been living in that Lekki apartment. She's seen his business dealings, met his associates, probably even has access to accounts and documents we haven't found yet. Why would she help me? Because she hates him now. Because she's fighting for her son's future just like you're fighting for your children. Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yetund paused. And because I suspect Ngozi isn't the only woman Femi's been lying to. The implication hung in the air like smoke. You think there are others? Funk asked quietly. I think a man who can successfully hide an entire pregnancy and child from his wife is very, very good at keeping secrets. And I think Ngozi might know what those secrets are. Funk drove home in a daze. The steering wheel felt foreign in her hands, the familiar streets of Lagos suddenly alien. She'd spent the entire drive from Victoria Island replaying every moment of the past 3 years, searching for signs she'd missed. How had she not known Ngozi was pregnant? Had Femi been there for the birth? Had he held his son's hand for the first time while telling Funk he was working late? The apartment was quiet when she arrived. Bissy was in the kitchen preparing dinner, the familiar scent of jollof rice and fried plantains filling the air. Normally, the smell would have comforted her. Tonight, it made her nauseous. Mama, Tund ran up to her, clutching a drawing. Look what I made at school. Funk forced a smile, kneeling to examine her son's artwork. It showed their family, her, Femi, Amatola, and Tund, standing in front of a house, all holding hands. Above them, Tund had drawn a bright yellow sun and the words MY family in shaky letters. Her heart cracked. It's beautiful, my darling, she managed, pulling him into a hug. Over his shoulder, she caught Bissy's concerned gaze. Later, after the children were in bed, Bissy joined her in the living room with 2 cups of tea. You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse, Funk took the tea gratefully, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. Femi has a son, 3 months old. Bissy's cup clattered against the saucer. What? With Ngozi, his mistress had his baby and he never told me, never said a word. Funk's voice cracked. While I was struggling to pay for Amatola's school fees, he was buying baby clothes for his other child. That snake, Bissy hissed. That lying, cheating snake. Yetund wants me to meet with Ngozi. She thinks the mistress can help us find more evidence against Femi. You can't be serious. She's suing him for child support. Apparently, he promised to leave me for her, and now he's backing out. Yetund thinks she'll talk. Bissy shook her head slowly. And you're considering this? I'm considering anything that will protect my children. Funk set down her tea, her hands steadying. Femi created this mess. He brought that woman into our lives, made her promises, had a child with her, all while pretending to be a devoted husband and father. Now she's angry, and her anger might be exactly what I need. But can you trust her? No, but I can use her. Funk met her sister's eyes, the same way Femi used both of us. The next morning, Funk stood outside a cafe in Lekki, her phone pressed to her ear as Yetund gave final instructions. Remember, you're not here to fight, you're here to listen. Let her talk. Let her tell you everything she knows about Femi. Don't interrupt, don't judge, just gather information. What if she doesn't show? She'll show. I made it clear this meeting could benefit her case too. Besides, I think she wants to meet you. She wants to see who she's been competing with. We weren't competing, Funk said sharply. I was his wife, she was his mistake. Tell her that. Use it. Make her understand that she was just another victim of his lies. Through the cafe window, Funk spotted a young woman sitting alone at a corner table, nervously checking her phone. She was beautiful, much younger than Funk, probably mid-20s, with long braids and a floral dress that emphasized her curves. Despite having given birth 3 months ago, Ngozi looked radiant. Funk felt suddenly old, tired, used up. She's here, Funk whispered into the phone. Good, remember, you're not enemies. You're both survivors of the same man's cruelty. Now go, and Funk, record everything. I'll have a private investigator nearby in case we need visual confirmation. Funk hung up and stepped into the cafe. Ngozi looked up as she approached, her expression shifting from nervousness to something harder, defensive. They studied each other in silence, two women connected by the same man's betrayal. Finally, Funk sat down across from her and said the only thing that made sense. Tell me everything. Ngozi's hands trembled as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. Up close, Funk could see the exhaustion etched into her young face, dark circles under her eyes, chapped lips, fingernails bitten down to the quick. This wasn't the confident mistress Funk had imagined. This was a tired, frightened girl who looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. I didn't know he was married at first, Ngozi said quietly, not meeting Funk's eyes. I know that's what they all say, but it's true. When I met him 2 years ago, he told me he was divorced, said you'd taken the children and moved on with your life. Funk's jaw tightened, but she remembered Yetund's instructions. Listen, don't interrupt. We met at a business conference in Abuja. I was working as a receptionist at one of the hotels hosting the event. He was charming, generous, always smiling. He swept me off my feet. Ngozi's voice cracked. He told me I was special, that he'd never met anyone like me, that he wanted to build a future together. When did you find out the truth? Funk asked, her voice carefully neutral. 6 months in, I got pregnant and suddenly he started acting strange. Wouldn't let me come to his house, always made excuses about why we couldn't go out in certain parts of Lagos. One night, I followed him. Ngozi finally looked up, tears streaming down her face. I watched him walk into your apartment building, watched him kiss you goodnight at the door. Watched him play with your children in the courtyard. The image pierced through Funk's chest like a blade. While she'd been living her normal life, completely unaware, this woman had been watching from the shadows, her heart breaking. Why didn't you leave him? Funk heard herself ask. Because I was already 4 months pregnant. Because he swore he was going to leave you as soon as the time was right. Because he said you didn't love him anymore, that the marriage was dead, that he was only staying for the children. Ngozi wiped her eyes roughly. Because I was stupid and in love and believed every lie that came out of his mouth. The apartment in Lekki, Funk said. When did he buy it? Last year. He said it was for us, for me and the baby, our fresh start. He moved me in when I was 7 months pregnant, said he didn't want me living in my cramped apartment in Aikja anymore. Ngozi's laugh was bitter. I thought it meant he was finally choosing me, that we were going to be a real family. But he didn't leave me. No, after Ifani was born, everything changed. Suddenly he was always busy, always working, couldn't visit as often. The money he'd been sending regularly started coming late, then stopped altogether. When I confronted him, he said business was slow, that he was having financial problems. Ngozi's voice hardened. But I knew he was lying. I'd seen his bank statements. I knew about the businesses, the properties, the investments. He had money. He just didn't want to spend it on us anymore. Funk leaned forward, her pulse quickening. You've seen his bank statements. Which accounts? All of them, or at least the ones I know about. Ngozi pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. He used to leave documents lying around the apartment. At first, I didn't pay attention, but after he started pulling away, I started taking pictures. Insurance, I guess. Proof that he wasn't the broke man he was pretending to be. She turned the phone toward Funk. The screen showed a photograph of a bank statement from a private wealth management firm, an account Funk had never heard of, holding over 30 million naira. Funk's breath caught. How many accounts does he have? At least 7 that I know of, maybe more. He has money in First Bank, GT Bank, Access Bank, plus offshore accounts in Ghana and Dubai. Ngozi swiped through more photos, property deeds, business registration documents, investment portfolios. He owns 4 rental properties in Port Harcourt that generate about 600,000 naira monthly. He has shares in a shipping company, a 40% stake in a restaurant in Victoria Island, and he's a silent partner in some import-export business. Funk felt dizzy. While she'd been struggling to feed their children, worried about every naira spent on groceries and school supplies, Femi had been sitting on a fortune. A fortune he'd hidden not just from her, but from the courts. "Can you send me those photos?" Funk asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Ngozi hesitated. "If I help you, what happens to me? To my son?" "What do you mean?" "Your lawyer said this meeting could benefit my case too. But how? If I testify against Femi, if I help you expose his hidden assets, what's in it for Ifani?" Ngozi's eyes were desperate. "I don't care about myself anymore. I just want my son to be taken care of. I want him to have the father he deserves, even if that father is a liar and a cheat." Funk understood then. They weren't so different, she and this girl. Both had believed Femi's lies. Both had built their lives around a man who'd never deserved their trust. Both were fighting for their children's futures. "Here's what I can offer you," Funk said slowly. "You help me expose every naira Femi has hidden. You testify about his lies, his manipulations, his multiple lives. In return, my lawyer will make sure the court knows about all his assets when calculating child support, not just for my children, but for yours too. If he's been hiding 30 million naira, Ifani deserves his share of that support just as much as Amatola and Tund do." "But won't that hurt your case? If the court knows he has more money, won't they give some to me?" "Good," Funk said firmly. "Your son didn't ask to be born into this mess. He deserves a father who provides for him. And honestly," she met Ngozi's gaze directly, "the more money the court forces Femi to pay out to all of us, the less he'll have for whatever new lies he's planning. The less he'll have to start over with the next woman he deceives." Ngozi's eyes widened. "You think there are others?" "Don't you?" The silence between them was heavy with shared understanding. A man who could lie so expertly to 2 women could lie to dozens. A man who could build entire secret lives could be living in even more shadows they hadn't discovered yet. "There might be," Ngozi admitted quietly. "Sometimes when I'd call him late at night, I'd hear women's voices in the background. He always said it was business dinners, networking events. But now I wonder." "We need to find out." Funk's mind was racing, pieces clicking together. If Femi has been supporting other women, hiding other children, that's more evidence of his dishonesty. More proof that he can't be trusted with custody of my children. "How do we find them?" "We start with what we know. You send me every photo, every document, every piece of evidence you have. Then we dig deeper. Bank transfers to unknown accounts, property deeds in other women's names, anything suspicious." Funk pulled out her own phone. "We're going to uncover every secret he's buried, and then we're going to bury him with them." They spent the next 2 hours in that cafe, heads bent together over their phones, 2 unlikely allies united by betrayal. Ngozi sent over hundreds of photos, financial statements, business documents, text message screenshots where Femi made promises he never kept. She shared details about his schedule, his business associates, the places he frequented when he thought no one was watching. "There's a woman named Hadiza in Abuja," Ngozi said hesitantly. "I saw them together once at a hotel. He said she was a business partner, but the way he looked at her..." She trailed off. "I have her phone number. I found it in his other phone, the one he thinks I don't know about." "He has 2 phones." 3, actually. One for you and the family, one for me, and one for whoever else. Ngozi's expression was grim. The third phone, he keeps it locked in the glove compartment of his car. I only saw it because I was looking for a charger one day. Funk felt sick. How many other women were there? How many other children might exist that neither she nor Ngozi knew about? We need to get that phone, Funk said. How? He never lets anyone near his car. Leave that to me. Funk was already texting Yetund, outlining what they'd discovered. My lawyer has investigators who can handle this, but Ngozi, I need you to be absolutely sure about this. Once we start down this path, there's no going back. Femi will know you betrayed him. He'll know we're working together. Good, Ngozi said, her voice stronger now. Let him know. Let him see what happens when he underestimates the women he's hurt. Let him learn that we're not as weak or as stupid as he thought we were. For the first time since entering the cafe, Funk smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, or even a kind one. It was the smile of a woman who'd finally found her weapons and was ready for war. Then let's destroy him, Funk said. Outside the cafe, they exchanged numbers and a tentative, awkward hug. As Ngozi walked away toward her car, Funk noticed the way the young woman's shoulders were straighter, her step more confident. Sharing her burden had lifted some weight from her. Funk felt it too. For weeks, she'd been drowning in betrayal and rage, feeling isolated and alone. Now she had an ally, an unexpected one, yes, but an ally nonetheless. Her phone rang. Yetund. How did it go? The lawyer asked eagerly. Better than expected. I'm sending you photos now, bank statements, property documents, everything. Yetund, he's been hiding millions, and there might be other women. Other women, Yetund's voice sharpened. How many? We don't know yet, but Ngozi mentioned someone named Hadiza in Abuja, and there's a locked phone in Femi's car that we need to access. Can your investigators handle that? Consider it done. I'll have someone on it by tomorrow morning. Funk, this is exactly what we needed. With this evidence, we can prove Femi perjured himself in court, hid assets during the divorce proceedings, and committed fraud. This isn't just about custody anymore. This could mean criminal charges. The implications settled over Funk like a heavy blanket. Criminal charges. Femi could go to prison. The father of her children behind bars. Was that what she wanted? Funk, are you still there? I'm here. I'm just processing. I know this is a lot, but remember what he tried to do to you. He tried to take your children. He lied to the courts, manipulated the system, hid assets while claiming poverty. He showed you no mercy. You owe him nothing. Yetund paused. Besides, this isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about justice. It's about making sure he can't do this to anyone else. Funk thought about Ngozi, young and exhausted, raising a baby alone. She thought about Hadiza in Abuja, whoever she was, possibly being fed the same lies. She thought about all the women Femi might have hurt over the years, women who'd never had the courage or resources to fight back. You're right, Funk said firmly. We're doing this, all of it. I want every stone turned, every secret exposed. I want him to face the consequences of what he's done. That's my client. Yetund's pride was evident. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start building our case. And Funk, we're going to win this. Not just win, we're going to obliterate him. That night, Funk lay in bed unable to sleep, her mind churning through everything she'd learned. The apartment was quiet except for the distant sounds of Lagos nightlife, car horns, music from a neighbor's party, the ever-present hum of generators. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through the photos Ngozi had sent. Each image was another piece of evidence, another nail in Femi's coffin. Property deeds, bank statements, screenshots of text messages where he promised Ngozi the world while simultaneously telling Funk they were broke. One message caught her attention. Just deposited $200K into your account. Buy something nice for yourself and the baby. I'll try to visit next week, but things are complicated right now. She's been suspicious lately. We need to be careful. The date stamp showed it was sent 3 months ago, right around the time Femi had told Funk they couldn't afford new school uniforms for Amatola. The anger that had been simmering in Funk's chest for weeks suddenly crystallized into something cold and sharp. This wasn't just about being cheated on. This wasn't just about a man who couldn't keep his marriage vows. This was about systematic deception, deliberate cruelty, a man who'd looked his wife in the eyes and lied about their financial situation while secretly living a life of luxury with his mistress. A man like that deserved everything that was coming to him. Funk opened a new note on her phone and started typing. She listed every question she still had, every lead they needed to follow, every piece of the puzzle still missing. The mysterious Hadiza in Abuja, the contents of the locked phone, the possibility of other hidden accounts, other properties, other women. By the time she finally fell asleep, the first light of dawn was creeping through her bedroom window. But for the first time in months, Funk slept deeply, dreamlessly. She had work to do, and she was just getting started. The alliance between Funk and Ngozi has been forged, but how deep does Femi's web of lies really go? What secrets are hiding in that locked phone, and who is Hadiza in Abuja? The truth is about to explode in ways no one expected. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for next chapter. Comment below. Could you ever team up with your partner's mistress? What would you do if you discovered your spouse had a secret phone? The private investigator's name was Segun, a former police detective who now worked exclusively for Yetun's law firm. He sat across from Funk in Yetun's office, a tablet in his hands displaying surveillance photos from the past 72 hours. "Your husband is a creature of habit," Segun said, swiping through images. "Every Tuesday and Thursday, he parks his car at the same gym in Victoria Island, goes inside for exactly 90 minutes, leaves his car unlocked." Unlocked, Funk leaned forward. Arrogant, he thinks no one would dare touch his Mercedes in a high-end gym parking lot. Segun's smile was predatory. "We accessed the vehicle yesterday while he was inside, found the phone exactly where your source said it would be." He placed a clear evidence bag on the desk. Inside was a sleek black smartphone. Funk's heart hammered. "You took it." "Cloned it," Yetund corrected. "We copied everything, contacts, messages, photos, call logs, then put it back. He has no idea we were ever there." Segun tapped his tablet, and a list of names appeared on the screen. 23 women in his contacts. Most are labeled with innocuous names: Supplier A, business contact, accountant. But the message content tells a different story. He began reading, "Miss you, baby. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Already booked the usual room." Sent to someone listed as Port Harcourt client. Or this one, "Deposited 150K into your account. Keep our little secret safe." That went to Kano Associate. Funk felt her stomach turn. How many women has he been seeing? At minimum, 5 active relationships over the past year. Hadiza in Abuja, she's a banker, by the way, which explains how he's been moving money around undetected. There's Zainab in Kano, a university student he's been supporting. Ifoma in Enugu owns a boutique he helped finance, and 2 others in Lagos were still investigating. "Children," Funk's voice was barely a whisper. Segun's expression softened. "Hadiza has a daughter, 18 months old. Zainab is currently pregnant, 4 months. We don't have confirmation on the others yet." The room spun. Funk gripped the edge of the desk, forcing herself to breathe. At least 3 children, maybe more. How had one man destroyed so many lives? "There's something else," Yetund said quietly. She nodded to Segun, who pulled up a series of financial transactions. "Femi's been embezzling from his own company. He's a minority partner, but he's been creating fake vendor accounts and funneling money into his personal holdings. His business partners have no idea." "How much?" Funk asked. "Over 15 million naira in the past 2 years. Criminal fraud, financial manipulation, multiple families hidden across Nigeria. The man Funk had married, the man she'd built a life with, was a stranger, a monster." "What do we do with this information?" she asked. Yetund's eyes gleamed. "We use it, all of it. Tomorrow, we're filing an emergency motion with new evidence. We're going to request a full forensic audit of Femi's finances, immediate increase in child support, and..." She paused dramatically. We're going to request sole physical and legal custody of Amatola and Tund based on Femi's pattern of deception and moral unfitness. Will it work? With this evidence? Absolutely. The judge will have no choice but to see Femi for what he really is, a pathological liar who's been manipulating everyone around him, including the court system itself. Funk thought of her children, asleep in their beds, unaware that their father's entire life was about to implode. When this comes out, it's going to destroy them. They still love him. I know, Yetund said gently, but they deserve to know the truth. And more importantly, they deserve a parent who's honest, who's present, who doesn't divide their attention and resources between multiple secret families. That parent is you, Funk. You've been the constant in their lives. You've been the one who sacrifices, who struggles, who loves them unconditionally. What about the other women, the other children? That's not your responsibility, Yetund said firmly. Ngozi is handling her own case. Once our evidence becomes public record, the others can decide if they want to come forward. Your job is to protect your children. Let Femi deal with the consequences of his choices. Segun stood, gathering his materials. We'll continue surveillance. If there are more women, more children, we'll find them. By the time we're done, we'll have documented every lie, every betrayal, every naira he's stolen or hidden. After he left, Funk and Yetund sat in silence. Through the office windows, Lagos sprawled beneath them, millions of people living their lives, loving, hurting, surviving. Are you ready for this? Yetund asked. Once we file these documents, there's no going back. Femi's reputation will be destroyed. His business partnerships will dissolve. He might face criminal charges. His other relationships will be exposed. It's going to be messy and public and brutal. Funk thought about the girl she'd been at 22, walking down the aisle toward Femi with stars in her eyes. She thought about the woman she'd become, stronger, harder, unbreakable. I'm ready, she said. Let's end this. Chapter 7. The courtroom was packed. News of the emergency hearing had spread through Lagos like wildfire, whispers of scandal, betrayal, hidden families. Funk sat beside Yetund, her hands folded calmly in her lap, while across the aisle, Femi looked like a cornered animal. Judge Okonkwo entered, and the room fell silent. We're here today regarding new evidence in the custody case of Ademi versus Ademi, the judge began, her sharp eyes moving between both parties. Counsel for Mrs. Ademi, I understand you have substantial documentation to present. Yes, Your Honor. Yetund stood, wheeling forward a cart stacked with folders. We have evidence of systematic fraud, perjury, and moral turpitude that fundamentally alters this custody case. For the next hour, Yetund methodically dismantled Femi's lies. She presented bank statements showing 30 million naira in hidden accounts, property deeds for 6 undisclosed properties, screenshots from the cloned phone revealing 5 simultaneous relationships, photos of 3 children Femi had fathered outside his marriage, including one born just 3 months ago. With each revelation, Femi's lawyer looked more defeated. Femi himself had gone pale, his confident swagger evaporating. Mr. Ademi claimed poverty in his initial filing, Yetund continued. He stated he could barely afford to support one household, yet evidence shows monthly expenditures exceeding 2.5 million naira across multiple families. He's been embezzling from his own business partners, hiding assets from this court, and maintaining relationships with at least 5 women, 3 of whom have borne his children. Judge Okonkwo's expression was thunderous. Mr. Ademi, is any of this disputed? Femi's lawyer whispered frantically in his ear, but Femi just slumped in his chair, defeated. No, Your Honor. Then let me be clear. You lied to this court. You committed perjury. You attempted to manipulate the legal system to punish your wife while hiding millions in assets and maintaining secret families. The judge's voice cut like a blade. You are not fit to have primary custody of a goldfish, let alone 2 innocent children. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Judge Okonkwo banged her gavel. Sole physical and legal custody is hereby granted to Mrs. Funk Ademi. Mr. Ademi will have supervised visitation only. pending further investigation into his financial crimes. Child support is set at 500,000 naira monthly, retroactive to the date of separation, plus full payment of all educational and medical expenses. Additionally, I'm referring this case to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for investigation of fraud and embezzlement. Femi's head dropped into his hands. Furthermore, the judge continued, Mrs. Ademi is awarded her full share of all marital assets, including those Mr. Ademi attempted to conceal. This court will not reward deception. When the gavel fell for the final time, Funk didn't cry. She didn't celebrate. She simply stood, collected her bag, and walked toward the exit where Bissy waited with Amatola and Tund. Behind her, she heard Femi call out, "Funk, please." She didn't turn around. Outside, Lagos sunshine warmed her face. Tund grabbed her hand. "Mama, can we get ice cream?" Funk smiled, a real smile this time. "Yes, my darling, we can get anything you want." As they walked away from the courthouse, Funk realized something profound. She wasn't just walking away from Femi. She was walking toward a new life, one built on truth, strength, and the unshakable love between a mother and her children. The price of betrayal had been steep, but the cost of her freedom, priceless. The end. Justice served. Funk fought back and won everything: her children, her dignity, and her future. What did you think of this story? Drop a comment below and let us know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more powerful stories of resilience and revenge. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they can overcome any betrayal. Thank you for watching Stories by Tino.